All right. Right there in that paragraph there, where John and his talking to his dad about we'll do the bourbon redhead with the gimpy wing too. Don't know if that's congenital or not, but no sense in passing on bad genes if it is. I want to conserve the rest of the bourbon reds and breed them next year. With 5 hens and 2 toms, we've got the start of a good flock. If we cull ruthlessly, we should weed out any bad genes fast enough. His father considered this for a moment, then asked, do you want to start breeding turkeys? Well, Dad, John rubbed the back of his neck. I think we probably should. We've always ordered from McMurray or Privet or Ideal, but I don't know if they even still exist now, and if they do, if they'll still be able to ship birds next spring. I'd hate to butcher what potential breeding stock we do have now. We have now only to discover we can't get any more poults or chicks. Besides, we know feed's going to be expensive for at least the next several years. Turkeys are a lot more efficient at living off of what they can forage than a chicken. Okay. Probably be a better idea to use them for meat birds and just keep chickens for eggs. Other than your surplus roosters and cull hens. Okay, so the point about that they're better at foraging than chickens, well, certainly that's true. Because they live out, wild turkey live out in the wild. Hello, they eat acorns, which is one thing he said that the next paragraph there, or continuing that same one, that this year's acorn crop was sparse, so next year's crop ought to be good. There have been years where they were bumper. I mean, we actually filled 55-gallon drums with them. The problem with it is they get wormy, they go bad, but goats love them. Deer eat off of them, turkey feed off of them, so acorns are one heck of it's something you can easily store. And if they go wormy, oh well, you can compost them or doing whatever, throw them in the garden. But my point is this: turkeys are a lot bigger than chickens. The hawk, the occasional hawk big enough, or eagle big enough to pick up a turkey is going to be far, far rarer than that ever happening than a chicken. So, by and large, you get darker colored chickens. They're more impervious to getting whacked by hawks. White ones are a nice bright target, But another thing is, if you get bigger chickens, there are breeds of chickens that are a lot larger. Your Jersey Giants we had some, they were phenomenal, loved them. Very gentle. The rooster would be like standing 2 feet tall. Ain't no hawk or probably, I watch too many videos, granted, but there are eagles that are trained to kill wolves, kill deer, pick up a deer, bring it back to you, they can kill a man in a half a second. So let's not think of those really big eagles that the Russians are raising for warfare, I think. But yeah, seriously, they hit the wolf at the back of the neck, snap the neck, clamp one claw over the snout, and it can't open it. The wolf cannot open its mouth, so it's got a broken neck and a shut jaw, and it's dead in about 3 seconds. So deer, same thing. They'll kill a buck at a dead run. They'll dead. Okay, enough of that. So bigger chickens are better. Chickens that will graze instead of you've got to feed them, much better. So if you're thinking of raising chickens, get chickens that are going to be less likely to be whacked by predators, which means bigger. I got another end of that too, smaller also, but for right now I'm talking about bigger stuff. Jersey Giants, kind of bird that Kathy's sister, Brahman. There's some really big breeds. I think Brahman or something like that. So anyway, there's chickens where the roosters are a couple feet tall. We had Jersey Giants, loved them. They just, I'll tell you what, the hens, they went in the garden. They lay like ostriches. They don't need a chicken coop they just laid their eggs in the dirt. They knew it was a temperature, and they all hatched out. They all survived. We had Jersey Giants for quite a while. Now, about scalding them, I'll tell you this, we were scalding a whole bunch of chickens, and so I was, one hand, lift it up, process it. So I dunked a Jersey giant hen in there. Oh, okay. This is a two-handed job to get it out. I could dunk it in with one hand, drop it in with one hand, but I had to have both my arms to get it back out by the time the water soaked it up. So they're big, a lot more meat, bigger eggs probably. I'm sure they were. Whatever the other kind of bird is, I apologize. I'll try to notate it, but because Jersey's family wants us to get them, love them. This gal loved them, so she told us to get them, and I forgot the name. I should have asked her before she turned in. So anyway, and now the other thing is Aracanas. They're crazy. They're wild. Love them. The roosters are beautiful. I mean, you can have 30 different roosters, and they will all be a different color. I mean, we had a friend of ours gave us a whole bunch of Aracanas, and most of them were roosters, and we raised them for quite a while, kept them around. Finally realized, 25 roosters is kind of. How many times you want to hear that at 4 o'clock in the morning or all night? And all the fighting and everything else. I don't remember a whole lot of fighting, but one thing I do remember about them very clearly that was really awesome. We would go out once a day and just throw grain out for the chickens. And I went out, I was throwing grain out. And they, instinctively kind of just to do the same thing all the other chickens did, they ran toward me for about 2 or 3 steps. And then they realized, nah, we know what that crap is. And they went about their business, worms, bugs. And they would range really far. They would range from the chicken coop, I'm going to guess a couple 100 yards. And the Jersey Giants would go, probably, even further, about a third further. I don't know. Let's say the Aracanas went 100 yards and the Jerseys went 200, but they would forage. There's bugs out there. There's things rotting. There's ticks. There's chiggers. There's all kinds of junk. So raise them. Now, if you get an incubator, then you can start, incubating the eggs, and that's just a whole another thing. You gotta. That's a whole process. You got to have some place to keep the chicks, keep them alive, and it needs to be circular so they can't bunch into a corner and crush each other, because they'll just pile up like zombies. Here's a little one, and then another layer, and then another layer, and another layer. And if there's a heat lamp there, you don't ever put a heat lamp in the corner of a box. Put it over in the middle of whatever it is, so they'll be under them, there. But they will literally crush them. You'll go out there and you find a bunch of dead chickens, or they'll freeze or something. So. Round container is best. Put a plastic liner inside of a box if you got to, but make it round so there's no corners you get stuck into. So that's not, decide what you can do on that, but my point is this, is that you can raise chickens. Easiest thing to raise. You can have a lot less bugs around, a lot less snakes around. Chiggers. Now, if you want to not have chiggers and ticks, then get guineas. We love them. They're like singing. They make this raucous, horrible sound, but once you get used to it, it's like music. We would have about 10 or 15 of them around, and they would just like all go off at the same time, and I remember one time just going, man, that is so cool. It's the sound of no ticks and no chiggers. So, their eyes, guineas' eyes are like somehow focused to eat ticks. They really like to eat ticks. So that's their job in life. And they're ornery, and they're a pain in the ass, and they're obstinate, and they're weird. They mate for life. Supposedly they're monogamistic, or whatever you want to call it. So they're stupid compared to other birds. Other birds are all like polygamy oriented. You have a rooster and an heir and a spare. You only have about 2 roosters, and then you have your however many chickens you got, 10, 15, 20, 30. There's probably a formula there for it, but what the heck. Okay, so chickens, roosters, less bugs, less snakes, goody. And money, eggs every day to eat, and every once in a while, if you want one with a bad wing or something that happens, you can eat a chicken once in a while. On the subject of the scalding, I should have covered it then, but I'm going to cover it now. Let's say you want to scald the chicken, or you want to eat a chicken, and you don't really want to have the hassle of scalding it, and maybe you're one of those people that doesn't really care about the skin. Well, guess what? You can lay that chicken out, and you want to just, make an incision on the neck and bleed it properly, but you make just a little incision on the leg into the skin, and take any kind of a pump, bicycle pump, a pump for pumping up sleeping bags, where it's got a little thin nozzle, the little red nozzle thing there. You stick that in there and hold it tight. Have a kid hold it tight, or wire tie it or something, tape it, and then pump it up, and it'll inflate the bird. In fact, one time I was doing it, and the air got up here, and it went, and it was kind of weird sounding because it was dead, or maybe I cut the head off, I don't know, but it just, the air hit that. But it'll inflate it, and it'll blow the wings out, expand the wings, and it'll, basically what it does is it just, then you just skin it. So, and it's super easy to skin. No mess, no fuss, no boiling, no nothing. Really excellent way to do it if you're in a hurry, like you're just doing one bird, and you're let's say you're on the run, and you want to get out, or you're en route, you're walking, driving, whatever, and you got a turkey. Let's say you hit a turkey with a car. Eat it. Poke, cut a little incision in there, put a pump in there like your sleeping bag pump it up. It'll blow everything out. The air will completely, and you can see it happening, because it'll come up the legs, and then it'll come up the body, and then it hits the wings, and the wings go out, and it will inflate the whole thing and separate the skin and the feathers from the main inner body of the chicken. Very cool. Very nice to know. Try it. It works phenomenally well. It's like perfect. Very fast, very neat. No boiling, no scalding, no plucking, no stink, no nothing. Boom, done. Really simple. So, okay, that's it on that. Yeah, okay.